TNT Radio. TNT Radio.
Welcome back, and don't forget the lines are open so you can call in at the end of the show. We've got John Porter, broadcaster and host of Chasing Dissent. Make sure you go check that out on X. He's an ex-cop, but he now likes to give an opinion on everything. And we're here to give a story about something that's been missed in the mainstream media, a lot of it. John actually brought it to my attention. It hasn't had much coverage. This is about the UN, and it shut down its European headquarters in Geneva. It closed on December the 20th. It's going to reopen on January the 12th. They can't afford to keep it open. John, is this just a climate change agenda, or are they actually struggling to pay their bills?
Well, I think they might actually be struggling to pay their bills, Natalie, and it's good to see you again, and thanks for having me on. As you say, it closed on the 20th of December, and they cited that they would save money because apparently electricity has risen 300% in Geneva since the last 3 years. So the cost of living crisis is affecting everyone. And let's face it, you can't shut an economy for 2 to 3 years and not affect people. So, but apart from that, there's 193 nations contribute to the UN, and they work it out how much you pay on a really weird and very complex formula, depending on your population, depending on your GDP, what you can afford, whatever. And obviously some of those countries can't afford. And out of those 193, 52 of them haven't paid. They're not up to date. And one of the countries that isn't up to date is the United States of America. Good grief, imagine that. So as they say, they want to save money, and I think they're doing it as a symbol to the countries that haven't paid that, come on guys, give us some dosh. We need some dosh to keep this going. And they've been there since 1966. So it's not a new thing. It's not something that they've just sprung on people, and they've never shut before. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. I think it's a bit of a political play. I'm no great fan of the United Nations as it currently exists, and I think it's gone from what was, lofty aspirations and with the best of intent, but it's now become a talking shop that it really doesn't have any proper power. And we've seen all these issues with white helmets and blue helmets and things in certain countries, and continents like Africa, where they've overstepped their mark quite dramatically. But we're going off a little bit topic there. But I think they're playing games. I think that's what it is. It's politics, and they're playing games.
Yeah. So I wonder, is it them trying to show how the global economy is struggling, 50 countries not paying? It sends a message, doesn't it? And especially, like you said, the United States not paying. Surely they've got some money in their economy to give to the UN. You would think.
Well, you would think that, but let's face it, all the big Western countries are effectively bankrupt because we've been funding wars in places that we really don't need to be in. So let's be honest, when Argentina had a bash at as they call it, the Malvinas, and we sent our task force down to repatriate the Falkland Islands, we kind of did what Russia are doing right now, because we took what the population of those islands said they wanted to be in, and that was in the UK, and we said, we'll go down and help you out. And we didn't ask anyone else to pay for it. We did it all on our own. But that was 45 years ago. Well, nearly 40 years ago, just over 40 years ago. And the world has changed dramatically since then. So, Russia does the same thing. And I'm not a Putin apologist. I think if you've ever watched me on our show, you know what I think of Putin. I think he's doing a great job for the country. But as an individual, he's probably a horrible man, but he comes across well. But most people do when they're in these positions. And let's face it, I mean, if I could just touch on another brief point in the news that came on. You and I here, we're here as personas, aren't we? We're acting because we don't want to pay tax, just like Lorraine Kelly. And I think Putin and Biden and all that and Sunak, they all do the same. You know, they're portraying a character that they want to be seen as on the world stage. So, you know, when Crimea and Donetsk and whatever say, well, we want to be part of Russia, Putin says, okay, and they move in and do their bit, and the world goes, oh, you can't do that. But the world was behind us when we took the Falklands. So things change in 40 years. You know, it's a very, very volatile world we're in just now, and there's so much happening all over. You know, there's 122 conflicts currently ongoing in the world.
I didn't realize it was that many. That was so much information, John. You're a full of information this morning.
Yeah,
it's
always am.
I wonder, Rick, if we're saying it could be a political play, but could it also be a sign of economic recession globally as well? They genuinely, these countries don't have the money to pay the UN, Rick.
Well,
John, I think yeah. Sorry.
We've been talking as well. You know, we're talking about the UN here. We're talking about the Palais des Nations in Geneva will remain closed because of liquidity issues until January the 12th. In the past, bankruptcy was always associated with individuals. You know, if you couldn't pay your bills, you had to go bankrupt, or maybe small businesses would go bankrupt. Now we're talking about, you know, UN liquidity issues. Natalie and I have covered a lot of stories over the last 12 months about local councils. Birmingham City Council bankrupt, Leicester Council going bankrupt, entire nations going bankrupt. It's not just something for the guy on the street now. This is affecting this economic crisis is reaching out the entire city councils, the entire organizations. So no one's really safe from this pinch that's going on at the minute, are they, economically?
Oh, I think you're 100% right. You know, because only last night I found out Stuart Milne Group in Scotland, one of the biggest builders in Scotland, has gone into administration. So that's massive, because that's a lot of jobs. One of my friends works for them. He's the head of their IT department. So I don't know exactly what's going on there, but you know, they're obviously feeling the pinch as well. And yet Hamza is still sending money abroad when he really has no remit to do, because he is effectively a local mayor, if you think about it. I mean, Scotland's a part of the UK, and his remit is to deal with domestic issues. It's not to do with foreign policy. And yet he's off spending money putting embassies in other countries. So he's spending money that we don't have as a country, you know, as Scotland, and we don't have as a nation in the UK. He's spending money that he shouldn't be spending. You know, I have to get a dig in at Hamza all the time, because if you ever want to laugh, go and have a look at the channel and look up Hamza. That's Chasing Dissent official on YouTube.
Yeah, it's worth a look.
I love
Hamza. What a menace to Scotland that guy is. A true Scotsman, if ever there was one, Yusuf Hamza.
It was his, what really got me, and where it all started, was the speech where he just went to town on the amount of white people that are in positions of power in Scotland. And you would think, in a country that's 96% white, maybe that's going to happen, you know?
It's like me going to Kenya and giving off to the Kenyan government that all the top officials are black. You know, they would probably lock me up or buck me out of the country, but I'm just stating the obvious. Yep. And that infamous speech of Humza's, where he banged on about the head of this department is white. Yep. The head of, 96, 97% of the Scottish population is white. So just by virtue of numbers, the chances are that most of these positions will be filled by white people. But of course, what's he talking about? He's now the Scottish Prime Minister, and, you know, he's not white. So, you know, he hasn't really got a leg to stand on, has he?
I know. He's the Scottish First Minister. Please don't use the word prime.
He's prime something, but it's not Prime Minister.
That's exactly it. Thank you, John. Unfortunately, our time has come to an end. We have to take a break. I'll get another plug in for you for Chasing Dissent. Go and check that out. We really appreciate your time. And we've got Blake Lovewell after the break here at Today's News Talk.